So I'm really excited to be presenting this topic to you. I only have 1 hour, and I really have 8 hours of material. So I just want to tell you that I've already posted this PowerPoint on behaviordoctor.org, which is my personal website. They also have a copy of it at Patton, but I have that. But if you'll go to behaviordoctor.org, click materials, scroll down to presentations, and that should just make sense, you know, materials, presentations, then go to Hershey. That's where the folder is for this, but right above that it says Bloomsburg, and Bloomsburg is where I presented the 8-hour presentation on this, so feel free to download that presentation with tons more ideas than what I'm going to share with you today. So the reason that this is near and dear to me is I helped Pennsylvania put together all of their family engagement piece, but it was important to me because as somebody who trained PBIS, I would go to schools and I would tell them ahead of time, we really want a parent representative on your PBIS team. Two things happened. I either saw them the first time during the 2-day initial training and never saw them again, or they chose a teacher parent in the school, you know, somebody who worked at the school but also had kids in the school. And in my mind, that doesn't count because that's not authentic family engagement. So I really wanted to work on that. So this is, I actually serve currently as an external coach for 157 schools around the United States. And one of my schools, their very first time that I started working with them, these were their results. 22 family members attended, 22. There were 476 students, so that means we had about a 5% representation. And when I start with schools, that's pretty much what it looks like. How many of you have started with something along, and it's the same 22 people that always come. And so I wanted more. So I'm going to give you lots of ideas. One of the things that I'm real big on, there are 3 things that you need to change behavior. So the first thing that you need to change behavior is to revise the environment to set everybody up for success. So all of my PowerPoints, if it has to do with a way to revise the environment, the slide will be color-coded green. So let's talk about environment first, and then I'll tell you the other things that you have to have. So one of the things that we train you is that within the first few minutes of entering the school, somebody should be able to tell what's of value in your school. How many of you remember hearing that when you were being trained at the beginning? So you don't want to go 5 miles down the hallway before you first see a sign that says, be respectful, be responsible, be prepared, or whatever your expectations are. So right away, people need to be able to tell what that's about. Here's my question to you. What if English is not your first language? What does that be respectful, be responsible, be prepared mean? So one of my schools in Georgia that I work with, they have 27 languages spoken in their school. So when you enter the front airlock, they have the expectations in 27 different languages. And they made sure they got authentic speakers to translate it because Google Translate doesn't always translate very well, so it's very important that we offer that. This is from a school, and I don't work with this school, but I loved, they had their whole matrix in all the different languages that were necessary for their school. So think about that. We're wanting kids to go home with their gotchas. We're wanting family members to say, oh, you got this gotcha for being respectful. What did that look like? What did that sound like? What did that feel like when you exhibited those behaviors? If you don't have that in your first language, that's going to be hard for you to have that discussion. So it's worth spending the time to get all those things done up in the language that is first for the family members so that they can really have those discussions with them. My daughter is in charge of getting her school ready, so we are going to replicate this. I found this picture like on Pinterest, And I thought, how welcoming that is. And I wrote, trying to find out who this picture really belonged to, because you know how people tag. I can't figure it out, so we're going to replicate it, but we're going to change one thing. Do you see how it says parent resources? One of the discussions that we had at our group that was putting together all of the family engagement stuff, not everybody lives with parents. And so I've really been working on myself to always try to say family. So we're gonna, at my daughter's school, say family resources, and they sell those letters. I'm not doing a plug for them or anything, but Hobby Lobby, and if you watch, they have them half price every other week, it seems. So we're going to slowly buy all the letters to spell family resources, and then put a group in charge of replenishing that so that it's always got cool information out there. So then the next thing that I think ought to be important to get family members to come up to your school is to have a section in the library that's just for family members. And I'll tell you who I put in charge of this. Those of you that have ever been in special education and had a kid that previously had tons and tons of behaviors, and the mom got called all the time to come up and rescue the child, and then they finally get in a situation where their behavior is under control, the education staff is taking care of everything, and the child is no longer needing that rescuing from the mother. That poor mother now has no idea what to do with her time, because she's used to coming up to the school and she's really looking for something, she or he, but it's usually a female family member. I put them in charge of finding materials for the family resource library, and they really like that. I find somebody to grant some money so that we have a budget to get some books that would be important for the age level of the school that we're working in, and they really enjoy that and getting it together. So the next thing that we have to do, so we revise the environment to set everybody out for success. The next thing we have to do, of course, is replace the behavior. And we want the family members to help the kids generalize. So we teach be respectful, be responsible, be prepared, and I'll just use those as an example. But when the child comes home, we want the family member to say, okay, this is what it looked like at school. What would that look like at the grocery store? What would that look like at the mall? What would that look like at grandma's house? So that the child starts to learn that these expectations aren't just a school thing. This is a life thing. This is here's how you get along with everybody. So one of the things that I think we ought to do, how many of you have videos? I mean, I'm gonna guess quite a few, since 50 people sent in videos for the film festival. How many of you have your videos posted online so that family members can watch them? So this is one of my favorite videos of all time. It's from Bridgeton, Missouri, and the reason I know that is because my nieces and nephews all graduated from this school district. So I'm just gonna show this. I know you've seen a million videos, but I'm gonna tell you what you do with this afterwards. Great. The sound isn't working. He's saying, I hate riding the bus. There's always so much drama. How about a drama-free bus ride? Can you tell I've heard this a few times? Okay. Well, technology's great when it works, not so much when it doesn't. Just pretend. They go through all the appropriate behaviors, and I like that they only focus on the appropriate behaviors. They don't show the inappropriate behaviors, and I think that's important. Once you've posted, I know they're adorable kids, and I wish you could hear the singing, but anyway, after you post this online, what can you do to make sure parents and family members and students watch it with their family members? have your technology department put a login on there to prove that so after you watch it, you log in, and then the student gets a gotcha when they come to school the next day because their family member sat down. So what's that kid gonna do when they get home at night? Mom, dad, grandma, Aunt Judy, you gotta watch this video with me. And then they sign in and they get a gotcha, and that's important to kids. You also could put things on there, generalized questions. These are the things the bus driver said when they got on the bus. Don't use your potty mouth. It's a middle school. Don't use your potty mouth. Be respectful, be on time, say hello. So then it gives family members questions to talk to their kids about. What would that look like if a friend's mom was giving you a ride home from soccer practice? So there's another generalized behavior to help the kids. Can somebody get technology to come and turn on the sounds? I'll just tell you what this is, and these are things that you might need to post online. We had at some of our schools, we had trouble with 4th graders starting to cuss a lot. Like the F word was fluently flying, and it had never flown before. And we started, trying to figure out what it was, and we picked up that the kids were playing Fortnite. And then we brought in a couple of high school students, and we said, what's the deal with Fortnite? Because, none of us knew how to play Fortnite. It's, we're taking the kids' words for it, that it's an all-day game. And they came in and they said, no, it's 30 minutes, and if you don't turn off the chat function, they can chat with lots of other people, and the people that they're chatting with are using F this and F that, and that's how the kids are picking that up. And if you hear a word a lot, what happens? It comes out in your language. I lived in Georgia for 5 years, and I had never said fixin' to in my life, but after living in Georgia for 5 years and hearing I'm fixin' to do that, I moved back to Kansas and I started telling people, I'm fixing to do that. And in Kansas, they will make fun of you for saying that. And I know that, but it just slips out of my mouth because I heard it so much in Georgia. So we put tips for family members online so that the family members know, here's how you turn off chat, and they can pause it because the kids tell their family members, no, you can't pause this, you'll lose the whole game. And the whole game really only lasts 30 minutes. So kids are telling their family members things that are not true. And that's hard to believe, I know, but they are doing this. And then the last thing that we have to do is reframe our response. So there's 3 R's: revise the environment to set everyone up for success, replace the behavior by teaching the replacement behavior, and reframing our response. And this is so important. I really appreciate your help. This is so important because we are constantly giving out gotchas. And if you don't know why that's important and one comes home, what are you going to do with it? And that's really our response, reframing our response. Thank you so much. So we explained to family members the reason behind behavior-specific praise. And do you want me to go back and see if it's working? It's not. I apologize, we're videotaping and this is not good. But you guys all know I only had like a couple of minutes to switch between the last presentation. All right, so turn to your neighbors right now, and this is a slide that's coming up, we'll just skip it when we get to it. What's your elevator speech to explain to people the importance of behavior-specific praise? What do you tell people? Why do we do that? Because we all hear, those kids don't need that. I'll tell you what those kids need. What those kids need is a good whooping. How many of you have heard that? So what's your elevator speech that you say when things say that? Thank you so much. Our next one will work.
First, Battle Royale is a popular game because of its Hunger Games-like Last One Standing story mode, its cartoonish visuals, and a user's ability to compete with up to 100 other gamers live. Second, while the game is free, users can end up spending quite a bit of money on costumes and upgrades to weapons and tools. Third, your gamer might be playing for hours, but each match in Battle Royale only lasts 20 minutes max. And that's only if they survive to the end, which means the game is likely even shorter. Fourth, while the main version of Fortnite is designed for consoles, the game can also be played on the computer and as an app. Gamers can play with others across platforms. Fifth, players can chat live via voice and on-screen text with random strangers. It's not moderated and could include profanity. And finally, you can also watch others, including celebrities like Drake, play the game on Twitch, the social media gaming platform.
Oh, he sniped me. That is crazy.
For more tips, visit us at commonsense.org.
So whatever's an issue at your school, you should be posting for family members about it so that they understand this is what's really going on. Okay, so see, I told you there was a slide. What's your elevator speech about positive behavior praise? Anybody want to share what you said at your table? Did I give you any time to do that? Anybody want to share? What's your elevator speech when somebody says you don't need to tell kids to be good? They should just come to school and be good, and you shouldn't have to do anything. Nobody wants to say. Thank you. I could tell you really wanted to do that.
I'd like to tie it back to athletics coaching with the specific repetition of tasks in athletics, and say, like, what would you do if a player was missing their foul shots? Would you not teach them how to shoot foul shots, and would you not tell them, great job, great follow through with your elbow when they made a foul shot? Or would you just say they should know how to shoot a foul shot? And that, for whatever reason, that's something that's fairly universal that almost anyone, even if they're not a sports person, can connect to.
They understand. So I'm going to repeat what he said. He said he relates it to coaching. And when you have a child or a student or a player who can't make a foul shot, what do? You don't berate them for not making the foul shot. You teach them what's appropriate, and then when they do it, you're like, wow, good job with the follow through. I used to coach 9th grade girls basketball, so I know exactly what you're talking about. We didn't win a single game, but we all got along really, really well because I worked on that. My skills are a little lacking. So one of the things that I think is so important with gotchas, and why I want people to understand that gotchas are important, and especially family members and community members, is because a gotcha is teaching everybody in earshot what's of value in this school. So when I say, wow, thank you so much for picking up the trash off the floor, that's respecting the environment. Everybody that could hear me say that now knows that picking up trash, respecting the environment is a value in this building. Our kids will not leave our schools and get a job and then lose that job because they don't know how to read, write, or do math. They will lose that job because they don't know how to get along with other people. And that's why the behavior-specific praise is so important, because we are teaching things that are of value. So we explain to family members, and this should be on your website, we explain to them, when your child comes home with a gotcha, here's what we want you to do. We want you to make a great big deal out of it, put it up on the refrigerator. On Friday, let them pick what you fix for dinner. I used to do things like that with my kids. I've got a pound of hamburger. I could make tacos, or I could make meatloaf. Which would you prefer? You get to pick because you got the most kudos at school this week. So congratulate them on earning the respect of others in the school. Read what it says on the gotcha, and then help them generalize that. So putting that on the website is really important. And then start explaining to them how they can help you expand PBIS and explain what PBIS is. And you know that when we first start a new program, there's lots of misrules going on out there. I worked on the SLIDEA project, which was the study of state and local implementation for Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, and they sent us all over the United States, and we would interview family members, and we would interview school personnel, and we would say, what do you think PBIS is? What have you heard? And what we heard was, oh, that's being sickeningly sweet to children. I mean, people had heard that all over oh, that's giving kids stickers. That's patting kids on the back and telling them good job. Those are the kind of things that people had heard. So we've got to make sure they understand what PBIS really is, and then start telling them how they can help. I would love for you, if you could give up one day a month and come up to the school and stand in the hallway and catch kids exhibiting excellent behavior. That would be so cool, and these are the things we're looking for. So you have to explain to them, we're not looking for the kid that has the cute hair bow that matches the dress, that matches the shoes. We're looking for the kid that's walking quietly with their hands at their side, who happens to see trash on the floor that isn't even theirs and picks it up, and that's who you can give a gotcha to. How many of you use Watchdog Dads? Watchdog Dads is actually it's an international program, but they are gentlemen who come up to the school and they'll donate once a week or once a month, depending on what their schedule allows, and we get them to come up and hang out in the cafeteria. So usually they can get away at lunchtime, and they walk around the cafeteria looking for people who are using good manners and showing the expectations of the school. We get them to go out on the playground, attend sporting events at the secondary level, and give out gotchas at basketball games and football games and soccer games and things like that. So we're asking family members to do these things and noticing good behavior at local establishments and highlighting that. All right, so those are just a few ideas. I've got tons. Did it spark some ideas for you? Anybody want to share something that it made you think of? We're a really sharing group today. The cookies and the carbs of the sandwich have sunk in about now. All right, well, just know I have lots and lots of ideas, but I also know that we have barriers. And that's something that we always start our PBIS monthly meetings talking about successes and barriers. And then we come up with solutions for our barriers. And there's all kinds of barriers. Some are real, some are perceived. So the first obstacle is the one that I talked to you about not understanding what PBIS is. And here's the other thing we learned in the SLIDEA project. The first night, we always met with family members. And family members, this is what everyone told us, and it didn't matter what state we were in. They always said, we would love to come up to the school and help out, but the school doesn't want us. That was their impression. And then the next day, we would meet with school staff, and the school staff would say, we would love to have our parents come up, but they don't want to be involved. And that's what we would hear. And the truth is, everybody wants the same thing. We just haven't learned how to work together. And that's, again, one of those things we failed to teach at the pre-service level, how to get family engagement going. That wasn't a class any of us were offered at the university level when we were preparing to become teachers. So it's something that we need to think about. We also, this is a barrier, we assume that the family member saw the note in the backpack about the meeting that we had. You know, a lot of people find that note when it's all wadded up and wrinkled and ugly laying on the bottom of the backpack 3 weeks after the event. So we have to send more than one note, assuming that secondary students are talking to their family members and told them about it. So we can't make those assumptions, and those are barriers. The time that we offer the trainings isn't always convenient for family members. I happen to have lived, when I was raised, I lived all the time, but I happen to have lived in an area when my children were going to school where most of the moms were stay-at-home moms But then there were a couple of poor people like me whose the mom had to work. And they always did meetings and stuff during the day. And when you're an educator, your principal isn't going to let you leave to go watch a play or go attend a PBIS meeting or things like that. So to maybe survey your family members and ask them what time is a good time. What night of the week is a good night of the week to have the training. So time's important. Sometimes the staff worry that if people are up at the school a lot, they might see something and go tell everybody else what's going on at the school. You know, it's kind of a good thing, maybe. Childcare. We assume that everybody has access to childcare, and not everyone has access to childcare. Don't worry, I have solutions for every one of these barriers. Transportation. So getting up there, not everybody has a car that is working. And then the motivation to go. Why should I go? I'm just going to hear about da-da-da-da-da. And so turn to the person next to you. What are some barriers that you think you have in your location? And are they real? Are they perceived? What are those barriers? What do you think?
And they put out the PTO. Yes, and they have a PTO newsletter that they've started this year. So
We found something we're not utilizing.
What's that?
We're not utilizing our PTO. They have a website. They have like get out to parents.
Awesome.
I did meet with them, and that's how we got our teaching Wednesday. And they would like to do a program actually. This one has been really great.
I'm going to give you one more minute, just in the interest of time, because I have 126 slides for you. "30 seconds.
Two or three staff members. Eliminate all that. Use the 2 or 3 staff members to be able to.
This table over here said their PTO has a website, and they realize now they've underutilized that because the PTO could help them get information out about things that are going on in the school or meetings that are happening. Anybody else have something you want to share that you realize, because it might really be good to share with other people? Again, thank you.
We have an issue with getting families to come, but we have 56 school districts that feed into us. So they're not going to come an hour and a half after they get home from work. So
Okay, so physically being there, so I've got an idea in my head.
the
What?
ideas that I'm thinking of now is how can we do like virtual meetings?
There you
or
go.
something like that.
So they have 56 school districts that feed into their location, and so parents are not going to drive an hour and a half after they get home from work to come to your location to attend a 1-hour meeting or something. So a solution for that, thinking outside the box, is to offer a virtual meeting. And that's a great solution. Now there are some who maybe can't attend a virtual meeting because they don't have technology in their home, but I'll tell you what we did. We did this in Kansas City, Kansas, which is the 3rd poorest county in the United States, and lots of family members did not have technology in the home. We found churches that would open up and put on their big screen using their technology so that family members could go to a local church and watch online things that we wanted them to see. So I promise you there's all kinds of ways to think outside the box. Thank you.
I'm also at an alternative placement one of the ideas we were kicking around was going to the district itself, like instead of a family coming to us,
okay.
we go to the district and host some
Like
sort of event.
roving. Yeah, awesome. So they have 47 districts that feed into their location, and they're thinking of doing a roving,
Whatever.
yeah, so that you come to them, which if we really want to reach them, that is what we would do. Awesome. Stephanie.
What about parents who, we live in, low income families.
Mm-hmm.
So what about the parents, I don't want to say they don't care, but some of them don't care.
And I'll tell you where it comes from, you know, that feeling of not caring. So she said, what about the family members? We have a lot of family members that give the appearance of not caring. And a lot of times it's because of their own experiences with school, and we can change that. We have that power because they're so used to maybe when they were growing up, their family members always got negative phone calls, your kid did this. So one of the things that we can do is inundate them with positives about their kid. If somebody's sending a note home saying, your kid is the most amazing math person I've ever seen, your kid draws 3D perspective so well that the other kids use his artwork as a model, you're going to start opening up the backpack and looking for those kinds of things. If postcards show up at home that say your kid was caught exhibiting excellent behavior. And I know yesterday, if you were in the keynote, you heard me say, every single kid, every single day does one amazing thing that you can send a note home about. I promise you it's true. So we can change their opinion of what school is really about, but it's based on their previous experience. And for some of our family members, it wasn't a good experience because family members used to only get phone calls when things were wrong. I know the first time as a mom that I got a positive phone call about one of my kids, I was like, just wait, you know, I thought, oh, she's sandwiching. She's gonna tell me a positive, and then she's gonna tell me what's really going on, and then she's gonna sandwich it with one more positive. And I finally said, so is that it? And she was like, yeah, I'm just calling to let you know that we really like this about your child. And I was like, oh, wow. You know, like, I wanted to make his favorite meal on Friday. Can you tell I only cook on Friday? All right, I really thank those of you who shared, and I know the rest of you had ideas to share. That was your 5 minutes. So let's come up with some solutions to those barriers. So these are some of the things that we've done. The best way to get family members to show up is to get their kids so excited about what's going on. So the first thing that we ever did was dinner with Santa. So we got a guy to dress up like Santa Claus, and you could come and have your picture taken with Santa Claus. I mean, we took it with a cell phone. We printed it off on 8.5 by 11 paper, not even photograph paper. Pizza Hut donated all the pizza. McDonald's donated the orange drink, so we filled them up with carbs and sugar. We forgot to ask for donations, and so we had to buy the paper plates, but you really can get all that free. We got the high school students, all of these are slides that are coming up in a minute, I'm sorry to tell you. But anyway, we got all of that, everything free, and we talked about it for like 3 weeks before. Oh my goodness, on December 7th, we are gonna have Santa here. You will be able to come up and eat dinner with Santa, and then your parents are gonna go learn something, and people are gonna dress up and teach you a song, and you're gonna come perform the song for your family members, and we just got the kids so frenzied up about it that they couldn't stand it. They bugged their family members to go. So you don't have to do Santa, because I know some of you have given up Santa and that kind of stuff. You can do Tinkerbell, Peter Pan, Elsa, Elmo. You can tell the age of my granddaughter. I know Elmo, that's it. But all those characters, any character. So the high school is a perfect place to go to find costumes and kids who will dress up in costumes. You put a couple of your staff in charge of those high school students so that there's supervision in there and they have activities and things planned. So drama club has sets and costumes. Honor students have to earn community service. Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Campfire, they earn a babysitting badge, so they could earn their babysitting badge by developing activities for that. And this is for elementary. Don't worry if you're secondary. I've got plans for you too. We got the pizza donated by a community partner with free advertising for them, and that's pretty cheap advertising. And you know, to be honest, any restaurant I've ever walked in, I've never been told no. You know, I just say, hey, it's for a school. We need about 50 pizzas. What do you think? And you know, I've gotten all kinds of things. Cookies, orange drink, napkins. We had a jump house, and the people who owned the jump house, you know what I mean, those air-filled things that kids bounce around in, they donated it for free because they had a sign up that said, rent me for your birthday party. You know, so it was free advertising for them by doing this in the school. We emailed the pictures to the family members, so we didn't even have to print them off later on. That way the family members printed them off. So, I mean, we thought of all the ways to save money, because one of the barriers that everybody throws out when we say we want to do this is we don't have any money. And we have done this time after time with the schools that I work with without spending a penny of our own money. You know, it really can be done. So they get told about it on the website. We share, so we get the family members to go down and have a separate meeting, and we've only ever had to really coerce one family member to leave their children. They wanted to stay and see Tinkerbell, and we were like, no, this is for the kids, you come with us. But what we've had happen so many times, the room we were gonna meet in with family members wasn't big enough. And we've had to move to a second location because we had more family members than we ever thought we were going to have. And we talked to them about what PBIS is, what it stands for, and those kind of things. At the end, so that they don't sneak away once the kids have eaten, all the kids come down and perform a song that the high school students have taught them. And you know, we might paint their faces or things like that, so they perform a song. So this was Liberty Elementary, which is one of my schools in Oklahoma, the one that had 22 family members the first time. So the second time, after really pushing it, we had 404 family members. Now, some of those were 2 family members attending out of 476. So we went from 5% to 85%. And that's my goal for you, is to keep pushing that number up higher and higher. So at the secondary level, this has been our most success. For every adult you get to come to this meeting, you get a free homework pass. Now, some schools don't like the free homework passes because they really like those kids to have homework. So I've talked them into giving a BBA-BG card. BBA-BG stands for buy back a bad grade. So you get the opportunity to redo an assignment. It doesn't mean I'm going to take an F and give you an A, but you get a chance to redo any assignment that you want to redo. And that's a pretty cool thing to offer to kids, because we've all had a bad day where things didn't go as planned, and so the opportunity to take a test again or redo a science experiment or something along those lines, kids will work really hard for that. The only complaint we've had about this is there's no parking. Like, parents, family members have to walk a mile because so many kids, I mean, we have kids who are getting their grandparents, aunts, uncles, older brothers, and I mean, they're getting everybody to come. But isn't that worth it? Because you're getting so many people in there in the meeting. So what can you do for those students? Because they're not going to be too thrilled to watch Elsa prance around or jump in a bounce house. So this has been really cool to invite community members who sit in the cafeteria with the kids at different tables and stations, and they get a passport stamped, and they go talk to them, and they talk to them about their job. And so they talk to them about career choices. So middle school and high school students getting to go around, and then they get their passport stamped. And once they get all the spots on the passport stamped, they turn it in for a drawing and you can do anything you want. You could do it for 1,000 gotchas. That won't cost you any money other than printing the gotchas. So they've got that little bingo card. But just think about all the people, and that doesn't cost you any money. You have some staff in there supervising to make sure the kids, and every 15 minutes you ring a bell, and they move to another table. So the family members are at a secondary location. So we've put these strategies in place at numerous schools in Oklahoma, Kansas, Wyoming, different places that I help schools. So any ideas that you guys have? I'll put the 5-minute that doesn't work. Maybe it does, I don't know. Technology's not my friend today. Any other ideas that you guys have to get family members engaged at school? We won't take 5 minutes, just anybody want to share? You just want me to tell you my answers? All right, I will. So when you do choose family members for the internal team, how many of you have real family members, not teacher family members, but real family members on your internal team? Next year, I hope I get invited back, and I hope there's 90% of you holding your hands up and saying we have that. So we have to help them understand the importance of being a liaison between the school and the community so that they understand why they're there. They're not just there as an innocent, I'm just going to sit here and listen. We want you to go back and talk. And when we did this in Kansas City, Kansas, the lady that we got was such a good talker that we had to find a bigger space to move our like several months down the road meetings to, because the space that we had was not big enough. Like everywhere this lady went, she told them to come to our meeting. So we had community members, we had family members. I mean, we picked a good one. She saw herself as a true liaison, so it was really awesome. They have so many connections in the community, and we want the community involved in PBIS. So remember I told you Kansas City, Kansas was the 3rd poorest county in the United States when we were working there. We went to the few businesses that were left, and one was a Jiffy Lube type place. It wasn't really Jiffy Lube, but it was a Jiffy Lube type place. And we asked him if he could come to the meetings, and also was there anything that he could donate to support family members for being engaged in school-wide PBIS. Yes, ma'am? Awesome. So if they hear a family member giving out, I'm trying to take parent and turning it into family member because I'm trying to always use that terminology. So if they hear a family member using PBIS verbiage, the family member gets a gotcha. Yes. Awesome. And does that turn into a gotcha for the student, or?
We actually, we usually put a bee on our beehive.
A bee on your beehive? I like
it. Individual, we just
okay.
The big ones, so we usually let them put a bee on their beehive to earn towards their goal, and we let them give their parent or family member the ticket, the bee ticket.
Awesome. So the bee ticket, gotcha is just a generic term for, because everybody's got a different name for it. So the bee ticket, and the student gets a bee on their beehive, which is really cute. All right, so this guy at the Jiffy Cube, said, we'll just call it Jiffy Cube. He said, I don't really have anything to donate, but I will print out a letter on letterhead and you can send it home to as many people as you want. And if their kid gets caught exhibiting excellent behavior, I'll give them $10 off their oil change. And so they'll bring the letter in. So at the time, an oil change was $14.99, regular price. So family members could go get an oil change for $4.99. And so every day the principal would draw 1 or 2 kids, send a letter home to the family member. Your child was caught being respectful. Your child was caught being responsible. And the letter said, we at Jiffy Cube commend you for sending such a fine, upstanding student. Please bring this letter in for $10 off your next oil change. And when they came in, he made a really big deal about it. So that was really cool. It was a win-win for him. Pizza Hut is always really big. I just said Pizza House because I don't want to. But Pizza Hut has always been a really big supporter of PBIS and schools. And so anytime I've asked a principal, a Pizza Hut manager, if they can donate anything, most of them have access to about 100 personal pan pizza little cards that they will give you that you can send home. And I'm really against tangible reinforcers, but in my mind, food is not a tangible reinforcer because it's community, it's working together and spending time as a family, and hopefully everybody will put their phones away and like talk to each other. And that's my goal. And getting $10 off an oil change as a family member, what's that gonna make you do? Talk to your kid, brag about what it was. So I like these things. Then we had one grocery store in the area, and we very first worked with a middle school. The guy that owned the grocery store, he said, I don't have a lot of extra money, but every Friday you can draw a student's name, and on Saturday that student can come to my store, spend the day, be the assistant manager of the store with me. And he took like a butcher's jacket and put assistant manager on the jacket. And he talked to him about what it took to run the store. They spent the whole day with him. He made him a sandwich in the deli, and they got a bag of chips, and they got to make their own pop, which back then the kids really thought that was a cool deal. He said, Laura, this has been the coolest thing because my theft costs used to be sky high. Kids would come in and steal candy from me like there was no tomorrow, or bags of chips and things like that. He said that's mostly what got stolen. He said, I innocently, when I was teaching the kids what it took to run a store, would share my theft costs with them. This is what my theft costs run every week. And he said, what I think is the kids went back to school and said, hey, he's a nice guy, don't steal from him. Because he said my theft costs went way down and I stopped having such high theft costs. So he said, it's been a win-win for me. And all I do is give up a Saturday that I'm still doing what I normally do on a Saturday. I've just got a sidekick. And he said, I really kind of like it. And I think, a lot of these kids, I think when they're 16, will come back and get a job from me. And he said, and there's quite a few I'd really like to hire. So what we do is we ask family members to talk to businesses, and we pick one expectation. And most of our schools in a district, so when we do a whole district, almost every school has be respectful. So we make a poster. This establishment or this business appreciates students who show respect, and we give out gotchas to the business manager. And every time they catch a student, only it's not a student for them, but a child in their business exhibiting excellent behavior, they give them a gotcha. The kids bring that gotcha back to school, and it says on the bottom of it, this came from Zeppi's Pizza Parlor, this came from Dylan's grocery store. And then we keep track of that. We trade it for the real gotcha, and we keep track of who's giving out the most, and we replenish them as we see that they need more. And whoever gives out the most gotchas gets free advertising on the school website. So again, it's a win-win. You've got the kids hearing, be respectful, thank you for being respectful. You showed respect by saying please and thank you. So kids are learning to generalize all these behaviors. Kohl's has a program called Kohl's Community Cares, and they will give you $500 twice a year. So they will send 2 employees out to your location. So most of the time at the alternative school where I hang out, they come out and do bulletin boards for people who want help doing bulletin boards, and then they come for our carnival and they help serve chili and stuff like that. And every time they come, they send 2 employees and a check for $500. And you do not have to spend the $500 at Kohl's. So that's $1,000 a year that you could use towards anything that you want for your building. Walmart has a grant system, and if you ask for items that Walmart sells, they will sell it to you at their cost. So you can get a whole lot more. So if you wanted to get air-filled cushions so that kids could sit on air-filled cushions and get proprioceptive input, because that would decrease impulsive behaviors, if that's something that you wanted, and you applied for the grant, they would sell you those air-filled cushions at Walmart cost, which is a lot cheaper than our cost. Some other things that we like to do, we like to give kids limo rides. How many of you have ever been in a limo? Feels kind of fun, doesn't it, you know? So we ask limo companies if they'll donate their services and come pick up some kids, say 10 kids. So we have the principal on Friday draw 10 names. They call those family members, make sure it's okay with all the family members, and the limo driver drives them around for 30 minutes in the limo, and the kids just think it's great. Now, when I taught in North Carolina, we lived in such a small town, we didn't have a limo company. So I called the local funeral parlor and I said, hey, you guys have a limo. Does it say the name of the funeral parlor on the limo? And they're like, no, the hearse says the name of the funeral home, but the limo just is a plain limo. I said, gosh, would you guys mind being silent partners? You know, like if business is dead one day, would you mind coming to the school and taking a couple of kids on a little limo ride for like 30 minutes? And the guy, the director of the funeral home, he said, gosh, we never get to do anything fun. That would be kind of fun. Yeah, we'd love to do that. And the principal and I were the only ones who knew where the limo came from. Nobody knew. And one day we decided we wanted to celebrate the secretaries because they had given out the most gotchas, you know, and that's hard because they're so busy with everybody coming at them, and they had given out the most gotchas for the week. So I called a restaurant. They said they'd give 2 free meals for the secretaries. So I called the funeral home, asked them if business was dead. They said, yeah, sure, we don't have anybody on the slab. So we'd be happy to. And the secretary, she had no idea. She's getting in the limo and she goes, I feel so special. The only time I ever get to ride in a limo is when I'm going to a funeral. And I was like, well, don't look too close. I just want you to know that you can think outside the box. So many times when I first start talking to my schools, they just throw up all these barriers and they're like, but we can't. I promise you, you've got eternity to think inside the box. Spend all your time right now thinking outside the box, because there's a ton of different ways. That was a joke. Some people got it. Talk to your lumberyard for paint samples, paint mistakes, and let kids cash in gotchas to paint ceiling tiles in your school. So that's kind of a way to get the community involved, talking to your lumberyards. By the way, I have 75 pages of free reinforcers. So if you go to behaviordoctor.org, click materials, go to reinforcers. I've been asking kids every single day that I meet a kid, I run into a kid, I say, what would mean the world to you? What could an adult give you that would let you know you've done a good job, but it can't cost any money? I've been writing their answers down. And I have 75 pages right now of ideas that the kids have given me. Ask the lumberyard for sheetrock that's kind of ruined on the back side. You know, maybe it got wet. On the front side, we let kids sign their name on the gotcha wall. Ask tech Company's disabled CD towers. You can turn them into prize wheels so the kids can spin the wheel. Someday kids won't know what these things are. Some of you might not. Ask a group to host a 5K to earn money for the school. I know I don't look like it, but I have done 5K. I even did a half marathon. We have a masseuse that donates services for the staff. How many of you would like to cash in, have your name drawn to get to go down and spend 15 minutes getting your neck rubbed? Ask a nail salon to donate services for staff. Ask a floral shop to donate. Now these are reinforcers for staff, because I think it's important for us to do things like that. So the guys might not like getting flowers, but you would love taking them home and giving them to your significant other and saying, look at these flowers I got you today. So you might not like the flowers, but ask sign companies to donate signs, and they're not very expensive even to pay for, but usually they will donate 1 or 2 for you so that people can cash in gotchas. So like at my daughter's school, there's a teacher who has, you know how everybody has the one spot they really, really want because it's closest to the door? So they can, I have 4 minutes left. I need to talk faster. Ask businesses to donate prizes for the gotcha wheel. Ask community to donate shirts. They can advertise their business. You know, like down here on the bottom, it could say, you know, Ranch Bowling Lanes, but on the back, it's got your expectations on it. And they can get things like that. Ask companies to donate entrances to the school. Ask universities or hotels to donate space like this for your Celebrate Success, so that you can have a Celebrate Success party. Ask sports centers, disabled tennis balls, lumber yards to donate shop aprons, senior centers to cut out and make gotcha bags. This is one of my principals. He wanted one to match his outfit. That's not the one that was made for him. He thought that one was pretty, but it didn't match his outfit. Ask community members to donate cute old phones. Kids are so amazed when they what we do is every 25th gotcha has a stamp on the back of it. So if you get the special stamp when it gets torn off and handed to you, that's an instant winner. You go down to the office and you're allowed to make a positive phone call home. So the principal unplugs the ugly phone, you know, the one we're all given, the brown one with the 50 buttons on it, and we plug in one of these dial or rotary phones, and the kids get to call home, and it's really fun to watch the kids try to figure out how to make that phone work. So this is my daughter's, so in her classroom, she lets students call home for out-of-this-world behavior. And Miller Middle School in Georgia, they're the M&Ms, so the principal has an M&M phone. Dedicate a book to you in the library, so ask senior citizens to come in and put the dedications in the book for you, or you can take it to them. Volunteers to assemble treat bags. You can see, I actually wanted to give you as much as I could, so I just put all kinds of ideas up here for you, just ideas of things that community members can donate to you, and I know I'm flipping through them fast. There's a friendship bench. These both were built by custodians. Outdoor furniture, this is one of our middle schools. So this is a closed courtyard. The kids can't escape. So they can cash in, it's kind of important. They can cash in gotchas and go out there to eat lunch. So this happens to be in Georgia, which the weather's usually nice most of the year. So that's a thing that kids can do. These are just some rolling chairs, and so we decorated them, and kids can save up gotchas and cash in gotchas. We ask Senior Center, you know, ladies who like to sew these cute covers to go on these chairs. So kids can cash in gotchas to sit in a cushy chair for an hour, and they really like that. And these are just different things that senior citizens have made for us as reinforcers for kids. So you can tell the covered wagons from Oklahoma. just different places. There's just so many different things that schools can do to get help in the school, party supply, just DonorsChoose.org. How many of you use DonorsChoose.org? It's a place for rich people to get tax write-offs. It really is. And like in South Carolina, Stephen Colbert is from South Carolina. He wanted to support teachers, so he bought every single request in South Carolina. Ashton Kutcher is from Iowa or Ohio, one of those four-letter states. And he bought every single teacher's request in his home state. The Oklahoma City Thunder bought every request in the state of Oklahoma. There are rich people out there who will pay for things that you want. And if you want your gotchas to be in triplicate, which I think is important, Quill, Q-U-I-L-L, is a vendor on DonorsChoose.org, and you can get reams and reams of triplicate paper, because that's what people tell me is so expensive, and you can get your gotchas printed on triplicate paper. Amazon is a vendor on DonorsChoose.org, and you know you can get anything on Amazon. So photographers to take pictures. One of the things that I worry about is kids becoming blind to the posters in the hallway, because they go up in August and they just stay up all year. So I have my schools switch them out. So we use different pictures. So some of my schools put Velcro and they put a different picture every week so that kids will cue in to who's on the poster this week about being respectful. This is Cherokee Middle School, and they have a photographer who comes every couple of weeks and takes pictures, and then the kids get to take the posters home, and then they put up new posters, and that's something that the kids like. So realtors will donate things to you. All of those things are important because it makes kids go home and talk about what happened at school, so that when family members say, "What'd you do at school today?" they don't go, "Nothing." So the exciting things that can happen. So I just have all kinds of ideas for you, and I know it's time to go, and I know I have to go because my plane is leaving in like 45 minutes. So my email is caughtyoubeinggood@gmail.com. It's really long, but I have idea after idea after idea of things, and it's not because I'm smart, it's because I help a lot of schools, and we've brainstormed. Like I said, every month we brainstorm barriers and successes, and we come up with solutions. So I hope that I've piqued your excitement about getting family members involved in school. Download the Bloomington PowerPoint, because it's 8 hours of ideas, and email me. I come with a lifetime guarantee. As long as I'm alive, you can email me and ask me questions. If I die, don't email my husband. He ran a prison. He has a different mentality about reinforcers. Ramen noodles are not as exciting to kids as they are to prisoners. Thank you so much for spending this hour with me.